And my principal example in this book, but there are many, many other examples you could cite, is the Ned Lamont campaign in Connecticut, where you have a guy with he's a relatively competent candidate. He's not a genius. He's not a professional politician, but he's got a strong issue against Iraq. He's got a vulnerable incumbent, Joe Lieberman. He's got a relatively progressive, well-educated state in Connecticut, where you have this tradition of independent Republicans who will vote Democratic, or liberal Republicans like Lowell Weicker, and so on and so forth. He wins he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, so money is not a problem. He wins the primary handily, not handily, but he wins it decisively against Lieberman. And the Lieberman, as you'll recall, organizes his independent Connecticut party to run as an independent. He's organized it even before he's lost the primary. But not only does Lamont have to compete against Lieberman and his rump Democratic group, because lots of regular Democrats openly support Lieberman, some tacitly, but some openly, like the mayor of Waterbury, my friend Joe Jarjura. But he also has to contend with the Republican Party, because the Republican Party wants Lieberman to win too. They put up a stumblebum called Alan Schlesinger, who was arrested for card counting. Do you know this story? In an Indian casino, and came up with some absurd story about why he was arrested and so on and so forth. They put up a guy designed to lose, but to their horror, Lamont was a stronger. Lamont is the Democratic Party candidate instead of Lieberman, and they have to work quietly, and sometimes not so quietly, with the Lieberman forces to defeat Lamont, and they do it handily. Now, Barack Obama's got a lot of talents, and one of his talents is knowing where to avoid conflict. And this, for him, as well as Hillary Clinton, was an absolutely essential conflict to avoid. Both of them endorsed Lieberman, the anti-war, the supposedly anti-war Obama, and the pro-war Clinton, both endorsed Lieberman before the primary. After the primary, after Lamont wins, they both quietly say, well, I guess we're for Lamont now, and they make, their political action committees make donations, make the standard donations to his campaign. But both of them are absolutely intent on never being caught in public with Lamont. Hillary Clinton holds a little fundraiser in New York City, never goes near Connecticut. Obama is begged by the fundraisers and the apparatus around Lamont, please, we want to do an event. We want to do a regular Democratic Party event with you, with other candidates, Chris Dodd, all the congressional candidates. It wouldn't just be with Lamont, because they know that he's nervous about being seen with Lamont. And they pursue him, and this scene I describe in the book, it's described by one of the fundraisers, where he finally has to sort of ambush Obama at a fundraiser in New York. And Obama says, I'll talk to you about it later, and literally runs out the exit and avoids him. And he's never seen with Lamont. Lamont makes a joke about how Obama drove through the middle of the night to avoid being seen with him on his way to another state, to another campaign event. So this is the power of the regular Democratic Party. This is the fear of Obama of offending, of getting on the wrong side of Joe Lieberman, who is not only pro-war, he's pro-war, but he's also a regular Democrat of long standing with a great deal of power in the party and a great deal of prestige. This is not something Obama wants to mess with. Now, we've got Lieberman as the linchpin in the Senate. He's the guy holding the Democratic majority together in the US Senate, and he's endorsed McCain. So, but in Obama's logic, or his political logic, it was worth the sacrifice because he didn't get on the wrong side of the regular Democratic Party in Connecticut, and certainly on the wrong side of the National Democratic Party. So I urge you, when you read it, or if you read it, or if you think about this or discuss it with your friends, to not fall into the cliche, and this is one of the things I was trying to do with the book, that it's all about money or it's all about TV, because that's another cliche, is that, oh, you have to look good on TV, or otherwise you can't win. Because the power of the two parties is still central to understanding American politics. The systematic way that the state parties keep independent candidates off the ballot is astonishing. I mean, Ralph Nader wrote a whole book about it. You can read that if you want. I talk about some of it. But I'm more interested in some of the more dramatic examples of collusion between the two parties, like in Connecticut in 2006. The other thing, if I could just quickly go into one of the other chapters that surprised me, because I didn't know how bad it was the question of class mobility in America. When I talk about you can't be president and about democracy, obviously I expand it beyond elections. And I think it's a basic tenet among Americans that anybody can get rich and anybody can change economic classes. But as you know, class is the great unmentionable in America. You're never supposed to discuss it. We had the amazing phenomenon in 2000 of George Bush, a graduate of Yale, Exeter, or Andover, and the Harvard Business School, and the scion of a very wealthy Connecticut family, accusing Al Gore of the St. Albans School and Harvard, and the son of a very famous senator from a very prominent Tennessee family, accusing him of engaging in class warfare, because he started talking a little bit about the divisions between the economic classes in the country. So I went to the studies, partly with the help of Paul Gleason, my researcher, and David Johnson, who's sitting over here. And if you read the really good studies by the Federal Reserve and by other academics, there is astonishingly little social mobility, economic mobility in the country. If you're born in the top 20%, odds are you die in the top 20%. If you're born in the bottom 20% income-wise, you're destined to die in that economic class. And I think this is the most explosive thing in the book, in a sense, because other than the power of the parties and the cartel structure, people can live with that. They can say, well, there's always been boss rule in America, and yeah, the politicians get together and run things for their own benefit. But at least you can get ahead in society. Well, according to the statistics and the good, objective, non-ideological studies, you can tread water, but you can't move up. And if you're rich, it's very hard to move down. You really have to fuck up to move down. You have to be someone like Huntington Hartford or somebody like that who is willfully trying to destroy their family fortune and themselves. So these are some of the themes that I talk about. There are other chapters that I think would be interesting for you, are the chapter on war and politics, how war challenges democracy. The book is full of literary allusions and citations. Fiction citations, because novelists, interestingly, in America, will say the truth about politics in ways that journalists will never say the truth. So I rely heavily, even though I have lots of primary research, it's heavily researched. I do rely heavily on novels like Democracy by Henry Adams, All the King's Men by Robert Penn Warren, Babbitt, Sinclair Lewis. I should have used The Last Hurrah by